Hello, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Elephant in the Room. Hi, Taranjeet. How's things?
Very good, Mihan. Very good. And yes, it is a fantastic evening on a Thursday, and we are on our penultimate show. This is the
Yes, we
penultimate
are.
edition, yes. And I can't believe I'm about to start to weep. What an amazing journey this has been. I swear to you. What started
Yes.
out to be answering difficult questions, we have now suddenly got, is it 52 episodes already?
Today is 52, 52, 52.
Wow. Time to get a lotto, man. I swear to you. So it's been a fantastic journey thus far, Muihan, and I've enjoyed every moment of it. This last couple of months, couple of weeks rather, has been very insightful. The last 2 or 3 weeks have been particularly so as we started to move down the path of the reality. Enough of all the new normal and the new reality, and enough of all of that. It's now focusing on what is rather
Yeah.
than what was. We are focusing on what is to come, rather than hypothesizing. And a lot of our discussions were focused predominantly on the area of driving clear, distinct thoughts around what does it take to do things moving forward. And today, we've got a fantastic topic that is planned for us. But before I go on to that, Muihan, back to you about the sharings that we're going to have.
So, as you are aware, this is our eve of our finale, and we are running another special. So, yesterday we had a great special with both Kevin Yong and Renuka Singh, and I think we almost hit the 1 hour mark because there was just so many questions. So, today, please be prepared to stay tuned until 6:45 or 6:50, depending on how the discussion show. And what our focus for today is because we want to start the thinking process. We want our topics that we keep talking about, which is actually talent management and how COVID-19 has come around to change things for most businesses. But we are very been circulating about this question about giggers, about telecommuting, as well as the blended workforce. So with that, we thought we probably end our season with a bang and get three heavyweights to come in to really discuss this topic of, is talent management still what it is yesterday, today and moving forward, right? So with that, we have three very special guests, and I'd like to quickly introduce. Our first guest is Shazmi Ali. Shazmi is currently the Country HR Director for Shell Malaysia, and he's based in KL. He is responsible overall for 4,500 employees across upstream, downstream, and SBO. With more than 2 decades of business and HR experience, Shazmi is, of course, an experienced HR leader in Asia Pac. Before joining Shell, he was the cluster lead for Southeast Asia for Pfizer, the pharmaceutical company, and he was based in Singapore. Taranjeet, who's our next guest?
Okay, but before we do that, I think we need to also be very clear. We are so appreciative to Shazmi to come in and spend his time on this, but we also need to be very clear that he's not here to talk about Shell. He's here to talk about the experiences from the other global and multinationals that he has been into. Just wanted to put that onto the table.
Yep.
So joining Shazmi, we have a returning guest, Verticka, and she's calling in from New Delhi, and she's been with us before. I called her a walking encyclopedia earlier, and my statement still stands. She was with us in episode 18, that's a Star Wars approach again, on the 7th of May, to share with us the Indian perspective. What was the implication of COVID and this whole pandemic on the Indian business individual? Verticka, if you remember, runs her own management consulting outfit. It's called Ukaavi, and that's out in Delhi. And she brings 15 years worth of professional experience across India and Southeast Asia, including Malaysia and Singapore, Indonesia, as well as in Hong Kong. And Verticka will bring to the table a very different perspective about what we will be talking today on the area of talent management. And she'll be looking at it from an Indian subcontinental approach. Is there a difference? Let us ask ourselves when we see Verticka on this. Our last guest, Muihan.
Our last guest is, of course, our favorite friend, Mr. Zohrab Chong, who is a passionate people development practitioner with more than 23 years of corporate exposure, covering diverse responsibilities and roles across mainly financial institutions, but he also have done jobs in non-financial industry in the countries of Malaysia, Indonesia, Hong Kong, Singapore. Of course, Zohrab was a guest on our episode 36. Of course, prior to that, we also had him for a short stint to call in to talk about the current realities in organizations. So one of our pet topics of discussion with Zohrab was always this, talking about telecommuting, talking about gig workers, talking about how the new working arrangement is going to be for all of them, right? So without further ado, let us welcome all three of them into Elephant in the Room. Okay. Hello.
Hi, Mohan.
Hi, good evening, everyone.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Wow, final episode. Yeah.
Penultimate, yes, penultimate. So welcome, Zohrab, welcome, Verticka, and welcome, Shazmi. It is indeed a pleasure and a privilege to have the three of you here. Heavy hitters, and I stand by that as we go along. So let's start it off now. Without any further ado. Now, sometime back, Mohan raised an insightful comment about the fact that if you stay with an organization more than 18 months, chances are you are now working towards a long service award, which is so, absolutely, which is so different to where we used to think, it's a 10-year, 15-year, and you get your gold watch or your little bracelet. Gone are the days. We also now have instances where it's 12 months, it's 9 months before I move on to the next organization. There's a sense of speed. There's a sense of wanting to do things differently. There is no sense of loyalty as how we used to see it in the old days. I'm not saying that it's not there, but what I'm saying is it's different with the current sense of employees that we are having. Demands are also very different. Insofar as I can bring you on board, it's also very easy for me to say, thank you very much. You're not cutting the bill. Can you now find your own way out? It is a very different social contract that we are entering into. It's a very different employment contract that we're entering into. And I get very intrigued when people still go down the path of employee engagement surveys that then ask the question, so how long will you stay with the organization? 3 years to 5 years and 5 years and forget it. That ain't happening. And you know what? I'm not going to tell you I'm only here for 6 months. I'm not going to tell you that. So this is the reality that we currently are facing. And this is the topic of today's discussion. It's about talent management in its true form. Is it the same as before? Is it changing? Is it dead? These are the different questions I'll be looking at. So Verticka, you are the furthest away from us, sitting 2.5 hours away on a different time zone. May we invite you to talk about your thoughts on these particular areas from an Indian subcontinent perspective? And is there a difference? And let's start the discussion with you. Verticka.
Thank you so much, Taranjeet. And yes, I think that's a very pertinent question in the times that we are dealing with, as of today. So if you actually think of it, in the next 5 days, we really finish off Q1 of 2020. And if you actually look back, this Q1 has been a complete washout. Tangible balance sheets will probably hit the CXOs, promoters in the next couple of days. And what was kind of a fiction at one point of time is kind of coming into reality in front of you on a piece of paper. And I think the fact that, you'll have to use the remaining 6 and, till September, you don't see anything really moving in a particular manner. So it's basically the last 6 months of this year, which would probably try and make up for the whole of 2020 that we have. And, in this time, if you go talk to a CXO or a promoter about talent management, ready your people, ready successors, creating a pipeline, I think it's all going to go into cold storage. As the rubber hits the road, all this is probably going to, go into the back burner and stay there for a while. So I think, in my viewpoint, I have, about four broad aspects that I want to lay on the table, and then I'll request, if you have any thoughts on that as well. One is that I would see a huge shift away from talent management in this year to actually talent experience, right? And I think that will be the defining moment for organizations. You're not able to manage talent, you can't touch people, you can't have those coffee discussions. It's becoming very formal, half an hour meetings, 15-minute meetings. It's becoming much more formal. So I guess the experience that people will have will start taking over the talent management. So the new lingo would be talent experience than really talent management. The second point being on recruitment, right? I think, and we are seeing this all across the globe. Hiring is frozen, or you're just hiring for a few critical roles and not much more. But I think still the fight for talent will not end. You will still have the number of capable people will still remain the same. So, people who are either asked to go, or, the jobs that are being made redundant, they will probably keep happening, and maybe it increases in this next 2 quarters. But I think the capable people will still remain the same. So the fight for talent will still happen. And thus, I go back to the first point, which is your talent experience will define, who kind of comes to you as an organization, who probably stays on with you as well as an organization. Coming to my third point, which is I see aggregator roles, typically the roles which used to just kind of aggregate roles or jobs, they probably will be the first ones to disappear. And individuals would be asked to grow their roles, and I like, they'll have to increase their boundaries. There won't be a definite shape. So there's a typical HR lingo of, let's write a JD for you. I don't think that will probably happen now. The roles will be a little more fluid. The roles will not have a shape to it. The roles will probably change shape as the environment changes as well. So I think that's the third one. And the fourth aspect of development, which is a key area in talent management, and I'll break that up into two aspects of development on organizations and people in a second. But I think, all the typical development that, let me ready a pipeline, let me put you on a 1-year development journey, let me do a project-based development for you. That's all going to change. That's not going to happen. And as Mohan said, it's, 18 months and, you've kind of hit the lottery in the organization by being the longest standing individual. So I think, moving away from this, maintenance and growth development will be the motto. So, organizations will probably need to create opportunity for talent to manage themselves. But, on an equal front, the individuals will need to push themselves. They will need to take more accountability, because ultimately your job is kind of at stake as well in one way. So I think those are the few points that I had, and I'll probably, throw it back to you guys, on looking at other aspects from all around, as a Southeast Asia as well.
Great. Wonderful. Thanks for that, Verticka. So maybe looking at that, maybe we can get Shazmi to actually counter that. And since you have multiple multinational roles, especially across the Southeast Asia region, how is that relevant in our Southeast Asia context versus what Verticka have just shared? Maybe Shazmi, can you have your thoughts on this, please?
Sure. Hi, good evening, everyone. Mohan, Taranjeet, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure. So let me just go straight to it on Verticka's point. So I don't think that's unique to only the subcontinent. I think that's basically what's going to happen across the world. To your point on the loyalty bit, so let me make it very clear. I think you are loyal to the organization by doing the best you can while you're at work, right? It doesn't mean that if you leave after 12 months, 24 months, 36 months, you're no longer loyal. For as long as when you are earning the bucks in that organization and you're putting 100% effort and you're delivering what you need to do, that is showing loyalty. So I don't believe in this lifelong career. I don't think that's going to happen. In fact, countries like Japan, where they were very proud of that fact, that they have one company entire career, even that has changing. Yeah. Two, And the second point I wanted to make is on this, the whole point on capable people will remain. So maybe let me put a different spin to it. Capable people will always be sought after, and especially in Southeast Asia specifically, if I may say. I've always believed in the pyramid concept, right? One comment that I always get from my MNC counterparts is, oh, there are 2 billion 3 billion people in Asia, why is it so difficult to get, I don't know, head of procurement or head of HR? But the fact is, it's difficult because you may have 3 billion people, but the people that you want to hire is at the top of the pyramid, and therefore this will still continue. So your whole talent management is not just about managing who you have internally, but who you can find externally as well. I think one thing that we always tend to forget is we tend to separate talent acquisition and talent management. For me, it's one. Is the source of talent, whether you develop them internally or you get them externally. And this whole point of let me, to Verticka's point, I agree. They give you a project, 24-month development, blah blah blah. You know what, I got no time for that. I'll just go jump to the next organization that's going to give me that opportunity. So good talent, so if I may just recap, loyalty means you're doing the best you can at the job. Two is talent is the war for talent is even going to become harder. And third, if you feel you are a talent and you've not done anything new in the last 6 months, I've got news for you. You're not a talent. You're not a talent that we want in the next 12, 24 months. Because if you
Ouch,
haven't
ouch.
changed anything in the last 6 months, you're not going to be able to do anything in the next 6, 12, 18 months. And the world that we are today is so different from 6 months ago. So the litmus test for every person who's listening in, if in the next 2 months you can't do anything new, you don't learn anything new, you're in trouble. So back to you.
Great, great, great.
So you're absolutely right, Shazmi. And I think the issue or the area of focus is actually around relevance. What relevance do you bring to the organization? And we've talked a lot about that. And I like Verticka's point around agility, the ability to learn, the ability to go out there to do this on your own. Don't depend on me. Do it on your own. And if you feel that it is important enough, you will invest in yourself. You don't have to wait for me to do that. Those days have gone. And I totally agree with your thought. Zohrab, what are your views, buddy?
All right. So thanks again to Muihan and Taranjeet and Shazmi and Verticka. Glad to be here back on the show. Very quickly, just to add on, I mean, I agree. One, talent experience is definitely the new buzzword that we have to look into to really sustain and have our talent contributing while they are at work with us, right? So that's that's the loyalty that Shazmi talked about. So let me just put in some experience in around the region when we talk about talents and how this is being managed from a multinational perspective. I had the honor and privilege to work with multinationals like MSIG Insurance, AXA Insurance, and Zurich Insurance. They're all global company who's got presence regionally as well as locally in Malaysia. And when we talk about attraction, of course, when you talk about MNCs, attractions is a less of a challenge for them, all right, because they're normally perceived as the big companies, and the perks are better. They're in a location that is attractive, development opportunities is there, and they got more interesting, sexy projects that one can get involved in. So the attraction magnet is there. And I also got the opportunity to work with a Malaysian global company, right, which is a bank. The banks are the bank, Maybank in this example, is also Malaysian based, has got global presence, and that is also attracting a lot of talents into the bank. But the area that is a bit more of a challenge, and I see it related to the talent experience and while we are contributing, is around retention. Multinationals has got a bit of a good start in the sense that because of the platforms, when they have opportunities to rotate amongst in a role, and you have got short-term assignment, long-term assignment, so the mobility program keeps them going, and versus a local company's context. And if you look from that perspective, there's also the downside. So the downside are in three areas. One, you still see the composition of expatriate versus local, and that's where sometimes it causes some friction in MNCs. Two, the other one is regarding cost. Cost is going to be affected today because an expatriate, and if you look at those who are continually on mobility, short-term assignment, etc., will have to incur bigger costs. And that's going to be hitting harder in this current climate that we are in, right? And the third one is also the environment, the local culture. Either the local culture or the corporate culture is the one that's going to determine whether one stays or one leaves, right? Going back to the talent experience. So that is the context. And in Malaysia, just to zoom in right on Malaysia very quickly. Malaysia, I guess we are in a double whammy stage. We are in a situation where attraction is a problem, retention is also a problem.
And capability of talent is also a problem.
Yeah, so it brings to attraction, right? Three. So it brings to a question of attraction. I mean, who are we attracting? How are we attracting people today? I mean, right? So that has become problem because, as I say, capable talents are now far and wide. Malaysia suffers from brain drain, right? We have a lot of talents who are now making their marks everywhere around the globe, but not in Malaysia. Sadly, we have the capability, but it's not there. And we know the baby boomers generation, the Generation X, are beginning to go off. They are the knowledge workers with experience, but they are already coming out from the workforce. And worse, Generation Ys and millennials, those that everybody is depending upon to transform and get things going, they are starting their own. They are going on their own. So where are you going to find them? So that's a challenge, right? That's a challenge, and that's probably where the gig economy is going to be hitting more real than before, right? So we'll come and the fundamentals on retention, just on retention. Yeah. So then the question is retention in Malaysia. What are you retaining with? Muihan said 18 months. I agree. It's about 2 years. After 2 years, people go, and the culture is not enforcing it. In Malaysia, sadly, for those of you listening, we are still very results driven, and we forget about people. So eventually, that becomes the trigger point in terms of your retention factor.
Very good. And we've got some really good questions coming out. Muihan, back to you, my friend.
Yeah, so a quick one. Maybe I just want to take this opportunity to say hi to all our friends and audience that have tuned in. I think we got a strong Verticka supporter fan club. So this is Shikal Malkuta Narang. I think she's your fan. Of course, we got Surjit Bawan from Perth. Thank you for tuning in. We got also Kamal. Okay. And Dr. Michael Heng, welcome back. Okay, we got call from India, Ipoh, not India, Ipoh. We also have Verticka Kohli, okay, as well as Etta Swalni, right? Hope I'm pronouncing all your names correctly. My good friend Ben Hoy, my good friend KJ Ko, and we also have Sangeeta Mama, right? Chong Sulim, okay, welcome. Jordan, all right. Who else? We have Ranjit from Malacca, okay, definitely. And Hua Chai also, thank you for tuning in. All right, one quick one. We got this question by Dr. Mike, okay. So Dr. Mike asked, will a single permanent employment continue to be desired compared with a multiple on-demand jobs? I think this is referring to giggers for income security rather than job security, which was disappeared during MCO very clearly. Some employees may prefer to work for multiple employers. Okay, so what are your thoughts on that? Maybe Verticka, you want to chip in quickly?
Sure. So I think security will not be on either of the, if you're a freelancer or a gigger or you're in an organization. I think job security is something that we all will have a challenge with this whole year, at least, and maybe going ahead as well. If I look at it from a freelancer perspective or a gigger perspective, there'll be 2 points of view that you would hear, across. One, definitely, and what we're seeing in India as well, is typically people are being asked to do things internally. So, the reliance on a gigger, the reliance on consultants, they're being asked to reduce that and, create programs, create initiatives internally because they want to kind of minimize the cost. While on the other hand, on things which are a little more strategic and you may not necessarily have that capability internally, you are definitely going to giggers, but, the amount that you want to spend on them has been squeezed so much that you will not probably be willing to pay an X amount to a gigger when you can't pay salaries to your people back internally. So I think there are two very varied points of view, but if you look at it from a security perspective, I don't think either of them is secure than the other. You will have that insecurity across both the aspects of being internal or being a gigger.
Can I ask you, Verticka? Now, there is research here in Malaysia that talks about potential unemployment rates. And that unemployment rate is essentially based on the number of companies that are closing down physically or from a corporate level, and therefore they're exiting people out. And we've currently hit close to about last week or the week before, about 680,000 people. There is research to say that it may go up all the way to about 2 million. My own estimate, I'm actually looking at about 2.1, 2.2 million, according to my understanding and my own computation, which is a huge number of people to be unemployed at any one point in time. What's the deal now in India? Could you share with us any thoughts that you may have on these sort of numbers?
So we hit a good unemployment rate, and there was a survey which came out yesterday, and I still need to dig deeper into that one.
Sure.
Is we are back to pre-COVID unemployment rates. So it's a little weird as well, and I need to definitely go deeper into where this data is coming from. But saying that, the Indian economy, as Mohan pointed out, as Shazmi said, we run a lot on loyalty. So I personally know company promoters who have taken it upon themselves to keep their people. Yes, salary payment has been an issue, but the vulnerability that they've shown, the true self that they've shown to their employees, that have left the people to still kind of hold on to the company. So the company hasn't let go, the people haven't left. So a few people who definitely couldn't make ends meet, understandably so, have left and gone to either better pastures or better jobs. But there's a chunk of them who've actually held on. So it's a double whammy that we're facing here. There is unemployment which is happening. People are asked to go as well. But there is a chunk of people who are holding on to their jobs to say, fine, you can't pay me right now. I am so loyal to you. I want to stick on. People have actually taken loans on their PPS. People, I know leaders who've actually sold off things to kind of, pay for their employees. So I guess we kind of stepping back, but still, the spans is so much in India that it's very difficult to kind of pinpoint to say, that state is all right versus this is not. And the general feel is a little mixed at this point.
Great. So wanted to maybe just check with Shazmi, since Shazmi is here, and I think he pointed out. Yeah, I wanted to know more from the giggers perspective, and since you've been representing multinationals, what is the take on giggers, and maybe also to add on to Verticka's point or to the question by Dr. Mike. Yeah, go ahead, Shazmi.
Yeah, I think most companies will start looking at giggers, even if they're not. I think they will start to. But if you want to be a gigger, and again, this is a no holds barred conversation, you have to be really, really good, right? If you're going to be an average person with average skill, to be honest, then the gig economy is not for you. Then probably it's better for you to join an organization and and just carry on work on a month-to-month basis. Because to be a gigger, you have to be really excellent that an organization will choose to give work or project that are crucial to you compared to someone they've known for years. And that's why the gig proposition sounds very interesting, sounds cool, sounds like I'm going to be my own boss. But if you cannot sustain yourself, if you're not better than the guy in the office at the company that he's worked for 5 years, then chances are you're not going to get those gigs. Back to you, Mohan.
Okay. Yes.
The one.
Zohrab, yeah.
Yeah, just to add on to what has been shared so far. One, to me, the days of multiple diverse income stream will become a reality, more so than before. Two, for giggers, I agree. Yes, it's not everybody can survive as a gig, right? You need to be able to sustain. But what is the value of giggers is this: if an organization likes this person, you onboard this person properly in terms of the corporate culture, what is expected, you're going to see a lot of value. And you know, from a gig perspective, you talk about cost of employment, it's so much cheaper. It's usually 1/3 or even 1/4 of your permanent employee cost. And if you look from the angle, so why not? Why not consider gig? And we know gig, if you don't like, just say goodbye lah. I mean, it's only for one engagement. So the risk is low. If you look at hiring attraction, you talk about sourcing costs, assessment costs, onboarding costs, development costs, and also all the other retention costs versus just a gig. Why not? Right. So I'm putting it back on to continue this chat, because to me, gig is very important. And research has shown in Asia, 40% of the workforce will be independent workers by 2025. Probably accelerated today because of the pandemic.
Yes, I agree. I totally agree.
Verticka, you have something to add, I assume?
Yes, so I actually wanted to, picking up on what Shazmi and Zohrab said, in India specifically, gig workers, another word which is used, which kind of, it hits me right in my heart, is vendors, right? So you're treated as vendors, where you are, your contract says vendor contract that you're doing. But unfortunately, what that does is that makes it a very tactical level engagement with the company and vice versa as well, right? So if I'm treated as a vendor, I'm told what to do, I'll do it and I'll get out. Versus if I'm actually taken in as a partner, my orientation, my ownership, my want to do things becomes very, very different. And in India, you see this word vendor, and I don't know how it is, in the rest of Southeast Asia, but we see a lot of vendor word being used. The relationships are very, very tactical until and unless you kind of hit it with the right person. A chunk, probably 80 to 90% of the relationships are very, very tactical. So, as a freelancer as well, or a gig worker as well, you might want to even give that extra bit, that discretionary effort, but you will not have the opportunity to. And thus, it's just, as I said, it's a very vicious circle. So, as an organization as well, if you want to engage gig workers, my recommendation is, treat them as partners, treat them as business partners who can actually add that extra bit to you rather than somebody who's doing very tactical work.
So allow me to respond to that and just add on. And I think this is a valid point. It also depends on how organization sees these type of employees or these segment of employees. So many times we say we will outsource it. We will outsource the marketing. We will outsource this. And therefore, I will oversee and provide you with exactly what you need to do. And there lies your relationship that has been developed. But I think, to Shazmi's point, it's absolutely crucial, depending again on what the individual brings to the table. So on two fronts. One, the cost of doing business suddenly will, into some large extent, will reduce. Why? Because I don't have to think about your overtime. I don't have to think about, managing your health. I don't have, because you are already out of the payroll in that regard. You manage your own. I don't have to worry about your EPF contribution or anything of that nature. But the converse to that is, I wonder what type of quality of work that comes to the table. What type of quality is the individual bringing in? And this is to Shazmi's point, and I totally agree with that. So it also depends on the maturity level of the organization, and this is to Zohrab's point. And my going in is, before I pass it back to Muihan, if you just think about that whole mental agility, you think about what Professor Sattar was talking about a couple of days back, you think about what Andrew Lau was talking about, the learning skills. There's a lot of expectations that are placed on the shoulders of these individuals. And it's very easy to say, let's just farm it out to somebody else. Let him. Well, actually, no. And this is to Verticka's point. There is a critical, strategic approach that will make or break the organization. Muihan, back to you, buddy.
So I wanted to maybe just bring the discussion back, maybe more internally, and I think Ben Hoy here has raised a very good comment. So Ben Hoy say, everyone is talented in their own way, but a lot depends on the organization to touch and also find the sweet spot of the employee in order to ensure this talent is consistently value adding to the organization, and also the ability to adapt to the organization culture. So maybe what are your thoughts on this, lady and gentlemen? Can you, Zohrab, go.
So very quickly, two. One, I will just take the point of what Verticka has mentioned earlier, talent experience. That is very key to see this going on. The second one, to add on to where I didn't manage to touch on earlier, is in this new era where we have digital nomads in the works. And if your organization is still a bit more behind times, where you have a lot of restriction, no Facebook allowed, for example, you don't have technology to support, and you don't even have a kind of a more flexi working kind of environment, that is also going to impact, because this generation will want to see this integration coming into play. They are going to be free, they are going to adapt and take on technology to the next level for the business.
All right. Any other points wanted to add on this? Yeah, Shazmi, go.
Yeah, so let me add and let me give you a sports example, right? The best players in the world, football players in the world, does not necessarily play their best when they're given different football managers that coaches them. Sometimes that chemistry or the manager needs to really know how to tap into the talent of this football player, and we see that in so many examples of so many top players. For a particular club and a particular manager, they excel. When that system changes, they can't. And to Ben's point, I completely agree, everyone is talented, but sometimes that values that that person has, that suitability of that talent, is not either in the right organization, or sometimes it is in the right organization but it is not in the right timing of where that organization is in that journey. Some people are fantastic problem solvers, and if an organization that is going through transformation, brilliant. But some people are just on a very creative, I want to tell you how to shape 10 years from now. But if that organization is right now a burning platform, you don't need people like that. So yes, everyone is talented, but you got to find that chemistry, that timing that works perfectly between what I can bring and what the organization needs.
Excellent. I like that. And let's move the discussion one step further. Muihan, could you please highlight Kevin Yong's statement that he has brought? Our employers, hi Kevin, we had a good time yesterday. Our employers looking at new retention strategies during this low movement period to build loyalty and reduce recognition when the job market heats up. I would like us to put that on a back burner for now. The question that I would raise or I would ask is, what exactly are we now doing in the talent management space that will address these different issues that we have now raised over the last half an hour? Let's try and deep dive into this. Zohrab, could I request you, given your wealth of experience in this one, give me the one or two things that you think you are seeing playing out right now in this regard?
Okay, so thanks for that. So let me begin. Let me just have a quick recap in terms of the two big questions that we're asking. One is, and we started the show, is talent management dead? And if not, what are we going to do about it? So yes. Put into perspective, talent management is dead if one, the organization hasn't started it at all, so it's considered dead. Two, if you have started but you're still adopting the old ways of just promoting or determining somebody is a talent just on, I guess this is it, kind of is someone that I like, who's considered demonstrating that kind of performance that I think is a talent, then it's going to be dead. But for organizations who are now using the right framework, a structure, and you are adapting to the changes today, I see that as something that is going to boost out how the organization is going to manage and retain, not only retain, attract talents as well as retain the talents. And we know from that perspective, then what are the strategies, right? What are the strategies that one can adopt? In strategic management leadership courses that we go through, we know when we talk about people strategy, we always say the six Bs. So I just want to touch on the 3 Bs first. Either you build, that means you develop whatever exposure that you have to, you borrow from your subsidiaries or your global counterparts, or you buy, right? And the buy, we know, is going to be a bit more costly today than before. And it's also a bit more difficult to find. The other 3 Bs are whether you bind, you boost them, or you bounce them. So let me just share with you a plus or the enhanced IR 4.0 version to boost. I call it booster, so it's a B plus. So now you got a C6B plus, right? So to me, the B plus is essentially the gig economy. Yes, there may be pockets where they may not be suitable, but there are a lot of capable and relevant talents that you can engage them to be part of your workforce. So in reality, employees in an organization cannot be expected to perform at 100% consistency throughout the entire 365 days. There's no such thing. None of us can perform at that level. We will have to up. We will also have a down moments. So why don't you use a booster? Booster is like our supplements or our daily food, right? Get a geek person. Get someone who's got the right skill, the right capability at the right time to enhance, to deliver the outcome that you want.
I like
After
it.
all, they are just a temporary booster, right? So that's why I want to put on. So
Great.
to me,
So
geek-
maybe I wanted to then quickly get Shazmi to commit something because since you are experienced man in this region, what are the things that I mean, we don't talk about Shell, but we talk about all your previous from Pfizer to Exxon to whichever multinationals that you have seen. What are they all doing in this sphere? And maybe so could add to some of Zohrab's points as well. Shazmi?
Yeah. So what are they doing in terms of retention? Is that the question, Mohan?
Both retention as well as talent management to say what you
Yeah.
are seeing and moving forward, your opinion or point of view on that.
Yeah, I think if I look at generally across Malaysia and Southeast Asia, I think the number one priority for a lot of organizations today is to stay afloat, right? And there are two ways of how a company can stay afloat. One is keeping your costs down, or two, ensuring you keep all your valuable assets within the organization. So let me talk about the second one. I think a lot of the companies that I'm aware of are trying their best not to lose their superstars. Yeah, and as an organization, you have to, hand to heart, and say that, okay, if I need to cut jobs, who are my superstars who by hook or by crook I cannot afford to lose? And I think a lot of them are going through that process to identify who are the people that they cannot lose. And the challenge is not to only focus on those who year in year out performing for you superstars, but look at it at 5 years from now. What are the skills that I require, and who are the people that are going to bring me on that journey? It might not be the one that are superstars the last 5 years, because their skill set might be limited not towards 5 years from now, but looking at 5 years from now, who are the people that's going to drive me there? And by hook or by crook, what can I do to retain them? I'm not going to mention a organization them, but it's very odd to hear an organization, which I know personally have done, is giving retention bonus at a time when people are losing jobs. And they're giving retention bonus to a select few of people because they know these are the people that's going to turn around the business, and these are the people that I cannot afford to lose. Brilliant. Odd because there are no jobs out there for people to go to, but they know these are the people they cannot live without. I think
Good
that's a
stuff.
really smart thing to do.
Good stuff. Good stuff. And it also reflects the recognition that you are putting on these guys' shoulders. You say that you are superstars, and I'm now recognizing you for that. Very well done. Um, Verticka, what about your perspective and some of the interventions or the initiatives which may be different to what the two gentlemen have talked about?
So I think, this whole discussion has made me realize that the region is quite similar. So, what you're hearing Shazmi and Zohrab say, a lot of it is prevalent in India as well, broadly, if you go to say. So there's no, jarring difference that I may kind of come up with. But I think for organizations who've actually invested into talent management, this will be the penultimate test, because this year is going to be the ultimate test of how they empathize, how they prepare their organization, while you're balancing the employee needs, while you're balancing your productivity, being in business as well. And like Shazmi said, you have a lot of organizations here who have paid the, they've kind of increased salaries. They have given an extra hardness pay that, these are hard times, we'll kind of give you extra as well. And the common theme, which, while we've been talking about loyalty, India is pretty loyal. I mean, if you actually go to SMEs, you go to smaller family businesses, loyalty is a key theme which runs through them. So I think those are the few things that people are leveraging on to keep their good guys with them. As the market's going to get tougher. It's not going to get easier at all. And plus, I think they're looking at employees kind of taking charge as well. So, gone are the days that you had that axe to grind with HR to say, you didn't manage my career, or, looking at your manager and saying, you should have managed my career better. So I think as employees as well, they need to start taking ownership. There needs to be collective accountability to make, this whole situation work for their benefit as well. Back to you, Mohan.
Great. So to answer Kevin Young's question is there's no new retention strategy. It's an old one. It's called retention bonus. With something I know, right? All right. We are really hitting almost the 45-minute mark, and I think this just so amazing. All this discussion and with all the great minds here, we are throwing to and fro. I really love it. But to respect our slot, and as well, I think we need to come to a close to our show. So maybe before we close the show, maybe I want to get everyone to maybe give two things to leave our audience with, two perspectives, quick one. And maybe we will start with Verticka.
Sure. So I think this year, two things that I want to leave on the table is talent management will be taken over by talent experience. How we engage people, how we enlist people, how transparent are we as leaders, how we show vulnerability to get this collective ownership. Right. And I think people need to be treated as humans, and that empathy angle will probably be at its peak. You can't commoditize people. They can't be treated as a pipeline or just talent. They're people. Right. So that's my first, takeaway. The second one is, as I think I've been kind of saying that all through, is employees need to play a critical role in this changed way of working. They need to take charge. They need to look for opportunities. They need to probably push boundaries and manage their careers as well. It's time to really take stuff in your hand if you want to make it work. And where there's a will, there definitely is a way. So back to you.
Great, Verticka. Zohrab, your 2 points?
Okay, so to add on, and this is where taking cue from what Shazmi has said about, looking at the competencies of tomorrow, not only for today. For business owners, one thing we have to be very clear. In order for business to survive, to sustain into the future, regardless of the technology, the structure that you put in place, you still need people. So please do not forego the people side. Don't forego investing in people. We cannot run away from that. And the key is really about finding the right people with the right mindset, right capability at the right time, so that we can thrive. And I like the concept of partnership. So two things to just add on in terms of a business owner to make this work for you. One, change the mindset that we have in the past, that workforce means it's my permanent employees, it's on my payroll, or I have some on contract. Broaden it up to the non-permanent, independent workforce that can come to you with their value proposition, not only from Malaysia perspective, but from the global perspective. You now have the world, the globe for your talents. Think of it as the Avengers, right? Which I use in one of the shows. How are you going to tap on the Avengers to come and solve and thrive your business? So that's one, right? That's one. And the second one is for talent management, where we talk about succession planning at the ultimate destination. For succession planning to work, business owners or those who are in higher management, you are now required to be prepared to let go of your role. You have to be prepared for that. Otherwise, it's going to remain on a chart that shows the nice high, medium, low, or ready now, ready in 2 years, and nothing's going to change. And you'll see them going away, and then you wonder what happened to my highest superstar, what happened to them? So that in mind. But I'm sure you can do well. Thank you for that.
Great. And Shazmi, your 2 points?
Okay, well, after 4 points that have already been said, I'm trying to struggle to find two more other points. But let me just put it this way in a very simple manner. I think reality check. I think a lot of people are going to lose jobs. Unfortunately, that is how the times are today. So, in the event if you're one of the unfortunate ones who have lost job, I think do not fret, do not worry. There are multiple other platforms available. Try to be a gig employee. If you want to be a gig employee, trust me, this is the best time to do it, because everyone is trying to see how they can manage the cost. So that's the first one. If you lose your job, don't worry. Try to find a different alternative. Second, and it's not really directly related to talent management, but it's something which is the principle that I've always believed, that your work will always be a subset of your life. It cannot be as important as your life, because your life should be more important than your work. So this whole notion of work-life balance, I am sorry, I don't believe in it. Your life is here and work should be here. Work is important, but don't forget to live your life and not just focus on your work. Because when you're 70, 80 years old and you're all alone, or you're not well, I can bet you my bottom dollar nobody from office is going to come and wipe that drool away, right? It'll be your family members who'll be taking care of you, and spend time with your family, because that's going to be crucial as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. And actually, that's a really good way to end this discussion. We talk a lot about talent, we talk a lot about, how can we drive this, but you know what? The simple things are the ones that matter the most. And we get ourselves caught up with what's happening outside, that we don't really focus on what's happening inside. So, Shazmi, thank you for that. I actually have nothing else to add. We've got such superstars at the table. The A team, as far as I'm concerned, the Avengers, as Zora puts it. Muihan, back to you, my friend.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Shazmi. Thank you, Zohrab. Thank you, Verticka, for all your very, very pertinent points. And maybe before I close the show, I think quickly, Zohrab, maybe you wanted to share something with the audience?
Okay. So thank you for this. So for those on the show today, guess what? There's something coming out on 1st of July that you may want to sign on. It's free. 1 hour webinar. We're going to talk about the blended workforce revolution, a research paper done by Jeremy Blaine and Dr. Rochelle Haynes from the UK. We are hosting it live from 4:30 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. Check out the link that Muihan is going to post on it. It's free. We're going to have a bit more discussion and how the gig HR is going to work. There is a framework that Dr. Haynes is going to share, right?
Great. So I've just put on the link, the Eventbrite registration link. Feel free to check it out. And of course, thank you so much, everybody. Yes, I think
We will say bye to them, and then you and I will finish.
Okay, yeah, sorry. Okay, so let's say thanks to our guests, and maybe both of us will close the show. Sorry, it's just too much excitement. Thank you once again, Shazmi. Thank you,
so
Zohrab.
much.
Thank you,
Thank you, everybody.
Verticka, right? We'll see you in a short while.
Okay,
Okay, cool. Right. Wow.
You got lost for a minute. Okay, so and I'm not surprised. There's just so many things happening. There's just so much of information coming out, so many different points of view, and all are heavy hitters. And I'll say that one more time. The
Yep.
experience they bring to the table, the thought process that they have. And I'm so glad that we had the opportunity to have a very informal discussion. We've brought in, I think we brought in half the Indian cricket team here, man. I mean, look at it. I mean, we've Verticka, good, great on you. Good, kudos to Verticka for the cricket team. But on a real note, I think this is a topic that has been long outstanding, and I'm glad we've hit this. I think we've not come to the end of it. We have come to the end of the show, or to the series rather, but this topic will continue. And I'm glad we've started this discussion. Muihan?
So one quick note, just Shazmi just left me a note. Sorry, I didn't manage to read that before. So he says that for any audience who want to continue the conversation with him, they can of course find him on Instagram with the same handler. His handler is also Shazmi Ali. do connect and follow him. And also he's also on LinkedIn as well, but he prefers to discuss things on Instagram. So find him there. And I think this opens up the real point that I say both of us are also very interested and continuously want to be part of this conversation. And we would like to maybe extend that invitation to all of you out there to continue having this conversation with us. Because I think by only we debating, discussing, and challenging each point of view, that we will move forward together, not only just as a nation, but I mean region as well. And I think this is something that it needs consistent iteration, as how I will see it. All right.
Absolutely.
So that's it, guys. This is our finale eve. I call it the finale eve show. We will come back tomorrow to do a quick closing of an entire season. So see you again tomorrow at 6 p.m. Tomorrow won't be an extended show. It will be half an hour and we will close it. All right. So thank you very much for all your support, all your questions, all your inputs. Stay safe. See you tomorrow at 6 p.m.
Thank you. Bye-bye.